we break down the latest on the Alabama football Crimson Tide and the transfer portal, several former Alabama football players getting drafted this week, to the NFL. Who are you most excited to watch in the National Football League? Drop that former Crimson Tide player's name in the comment section right now. We've got some news to get to here, but first, the rumors on the transfer portal. Well, I guess this is also news. Ed Woods is set to make a decision on his transfer in the not-too-distant future. He took an official visit to Alabama this past weekend. He's going to decide after his Michigan State visit wraps up. That was yesterday and today, Sunday and Monday. He's up there in East Lansing visiting the Spartans. We've talked a lot about this. Defensive back depth is an area of concern for this team. Ed Woods is, almost 900 snaps over 2 years. Outside of Malachi Moore, I think is very close or even more than the total snaps everybody else on this roster in the secondary. There's not a lot of experience there. So Bama is trying to find players who have played football games, who can give them depth and or be a starting caliber option after of all the spots this team got decimated by the portal. Not nearly as bad as the haters and losers said it was going to be, by the way. The defensive back room was hit hard. Lots of players off to the NFL, lots of transfers. Crimson Tide still trying to find help. Ed Woods among the options. And then the latest one, Kameron Howard, the defensive back, has committed to Alabama. Funnily enough, we were moments away from pushing out today's video, which was going to include conversation on Kameron Howard, when the news comes across that he had committed, despite none of the reported visits there. We were going to talk about him. Scratch that. He's now committed, so we'll talk about him instead. 347 snaps this past year for Charlotte. After being an unranked recruit in the class of 2023, he had earned a role, impressed, and now transfers up to Alabama. So a big-time rise for Howard in a very short period of time. So hats off to him there. He had mostly played safety for the for the 49ers, the Charlotte 49ers, to be clear. 38 tackles, that's a pretty good ratio there, snaps, tackles on defense. 2 interceptions as well. For a young guy that no one had really heard of going into this entire season, and probably most hadn't heard of, was a very solid season. Secondary is, I think, still an area of focus for this Crimson Tide team. Maybe we'll put Howard in there as one of your top backup safeties. Remembering, of course, that next year, you're going to lose Malachi Moore, and I would assume you'll probably lose some more players to the portal as well. This is additional depth for the Crimson Tide. I'm sure we'll have some more notes and thoughts on Kameron Howard as we move forward throughout the weeks here for the Alabama Football Report. Still hoping they're not done. We mentioned a lot of time on Ed Woods, and I still need another corner. It's Damani Jackson, and that's kind of it of notable experience at the cornerback spot now that Malachi Moore is playing safety for this team. But I'm glad to get Howard in because the veteran depth, as weird as that sounds for the transfer portal era, very important. Normally we talk veteran depth for the NFL. It's changed. Veteran depth is now key for college football too. So grade the transfer of Kameron Howard to the Crimson Tide. A, B, C, D, or F. This will be the pinned comments on this video. If the ad comes on YouTube, that's great. Ignore it. Head down there and go vote. A, B, C, D, or F. We did lose one player, the Crimson Tide did. It was a surprise. Producer Chris is still kind of in shambles a little bit there. James Brockermeyer committed to TCU after he entered the portal last week. On one hand, I get it. Other hand, I don't. He's going back home to Fort Worth, where his brother had played before he had medically retired. There was a chance he was going to start, given Parker Brailsford not being fully around there. I had always thought it was going to be Parker Brailsford, but here, hot take, maybe Caden Proctor coming in the portal led to Brockermeyer leaving, because you could have juggled your best 5, so to speak, and put Brailsford or Brockermeyer at guard and kicked one of your guards out, maybe Jaden Roberts to right tackle, or Booker to right tackle, and then put your guy at left tackle. It's weird. Once again, you're kind of back to being worried about the depth, at least on the interior of the offensive line. There's been a lot of, it's how it's going to be, I think. It's just in the transfer portal era. Snip, snap, a lot of that. I feel a lot better now about the starting tackles than I did. Caden Proctor, Elijah Pritchett, Wilkin Formby, I thought flashed in the spring overall. That's a good backup there. You got Tyler Booker, Brailsford, Jaden Roberts, but who was your backup guard? There's like 0 snaps there. Ionata, Alinea, and Rock Montgomery. 0 valuable real snaps. So, one injury up front, boy, then we're once again going back to there's not any real experience there. It's a thin room. Thin room. So what is your confidence level in the center position? Scale it for me from 1 to 10, and go ahead and drop that answer for me in the comments. While you're down there, check out the link to chatsports.com/Alabama jersey. That's for custom Alabama football jerseys and even some previous players as well. The link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/Alabama jersey to 30% off. Check that out if you haven't already. Chatsports.com/Alabama jersey. The 2024 NFL Draft going on this weekend, and I am still very tired. If you watched our Cowboys Report video this morning when I had to wake up raw to bed and do the Zeke Elliott signing, the bags under my eyes are huge. With this lighting, makes it look a little bit better than what it did this morning. 10 players drafted for the Crimson Tide, a very impressive figure. Let's break it down. J.C. Latham was the first Tide player drafted. I did not have that on my books. I was a little surprised he went quite that early, 7th overall. Dallas Turner slid a little bit, but goes to a great spot in Minnesota, 17th overall. Terrion Arnold, a slight slide. Lions snatch him up with the 24th overall selection. Day 2 picks. Kool-Aid McKinstry does drop out of round 1, goes to number 41 overall. Huge addition for the Saints. That was one of my favorite picks made on day 2. You guys know how big a fan of Kool-Aid McKinstry I am. Teams didn't throw at him. They threw at Terrion Arnold. I think that the Jones foot fracture did hurt his stock a little bit. But should Kool-Aid have gone in round 1? I certainly think so. Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. Chris Braswell goes number 57 overall, 2nd round pick. About where I had him graded, by the way, to Tampa. I think that's a really good fit for him and the Buccaneers. Jermaine Burton. We had mentioned the Bengals leading on our Bengals channel, like, Burton makes a lot of sense there. Got that dog in him. Also got that beware of dog sign for him as well. I had him, I think, 71st on my board. Let me pull this up here while I ramble a little bit here. I think he was 71st on my board. Let's see if I'm smart or dumb. 71st, 3rd round grade, so good value there. Braswell, by the way, was 62nd on my board, right in the sweet spot. Kool-Aid McKinstry was 23rd for me. Into day 3, Justin Aboyesby. We were talking about how he might go earlier than most people thought. He does, goes 105, even higher than I had him. It was 156 overall for me, but a 4th round grade. He's a great fit for what the Chargers want to do. Not an accident, I think, that Harbaugh watched him play him against Alabama, ends up landing him. The Falcons took Jace McClellan, by the way. I was not crazy high on him. I had a 6/7th round grade on him. He goes to Atlanta. Even producer Chris's boy, the kicker, got drafted. Will Reichard in the 6th round. In general, I am not a fan of drafting kickers. I think that's not great usage for the Crimson Tide, or for NFL teams, because it's a kicker. But Reichard was my number 1 kicker this year. So take note of that. The only other Bama player I had graded in my top 300 also got drafted, 257 overall. That's Jalen Key to the New York Jets. So that is something worth being proud of, that so many players ended up getting drafted. I will also make note, undrafted offensive lineman Darian Dalcourt to the Ravens as an undrafted free agent. And Ravens love those SEC Bama boys. They do that almost every single year, it feels like. The next goal here is 118,000 subscribers as we get to kind of a quieter period. Portal's closing, not a lot of stuff going on until fall ball. We will still have videos for you guys. We'll break down the roster. We'll do watch parties this year for the Crimson Tide. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/@RollTideTV.